Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here with you on this Thursday morning up here in Clarksville, Tennessee, heading back to Memphis and this afternoon, right after the show, whatever this morning. But a lot to talk about today. We got Chris Lee's going to join us from Nashville, the Southeastern 14, and also Vandy Rivals website that he covers. And a lot of questions for him. Second segment, Gary Harris checks in Tuscaloosa. Does a show every Monday through Friday morning, 9 a.m. on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa. Put that app on your phone. If you cover Alabama, you watch Alabama, you're a fan of the Tide, you need to follow him. Does great show also Tuesday nights with our friend Rodney Orr of Tider Insider. You can watch that live on YouTube and on TV and stations throughout Alabama. They do a great job as well. Hour number 2 will be joined by, it'll be interesting, Ben Troupe was supposed to be on yesterday, had an emergency come up. Ben's going to join us, and Coach Matt Dean, possibly John Hartwell, our friend, the AD at ULM. But he's got a kind of an emergency meeting that has come up. He's got to work on some stuff. That's part of the life of being an athletic director. So we'll be talking with John if he can join us. But we have a lot to talk about. We do this 25 times a month, at least 300 times a year. Sidelines. Follow us on all social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Stitcher, Apple. Look, if you miss us live, 8 to 10 a.m. Central, Monday through Saturday, you can always go and catch us on the website, sidelines.live. And, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's YouTube /@sidelines_live. We cover a lot. The SEC and your favorite team. Cover Memphis. We cover schools all over the country. Big 10, Pac-12, Big 12, ACC, Sun Belt, AAC. We love covering them all. If you've got questions, send in your questions and comments, and we'll address them. I'm going to head straight to Nashville. Chris Lee, one of the best sets around. This is my temporary set. I don't know what that is in the background. That was Audrey right there. Just wearing a Red River Ford Toyota outdoor shirt. And they ran out of those things the first day they had them. If I get any more, I'll give them out to people. But send in your questions and comments. I already got a lot of them that have come in. I get them from texting because I send out a ton of those. And then we have people on YouTube and whatever. But Chris, look, I was at that Vandy game at the Skinner box the other day. And that's a school, Vandy, you and I talked off the air. They've got so much money. They've got unbelievable amounts of money. But so does Texas A&M, and so does Texas. Sometimes that can be a problem where you've got too many J.R. Ewings in the room. Is that the problem at Vanderbilt, or is it apathy?
I think it's stubbornness. They've got their idea of how to win. There are very few self-reflective properties at that school in terms of, hey, are we doing the stuff to win? That they've always got their, no, this is how we're going to do it. Every hire is vetted through the box of, can this person work within the parameters at Vanderbilt and get along with everybody else?
Yeah.
I don't need that. James Franklin came in and said, screw this. We're going to win some ball games, and the way you're doing it is not the way we need to be doing it. Now, look, James as a human being is not at the top of my list of favorite people.
Yeah.
For a number of reasons, but you give a guy credit for where he deserves it. And James had a formula to win there that has worked like nobody else. I just don't think the school likes to talk a good game. I'm not sure that the school wants to really do. I mean, yeah, they're putting a ton of money into facilities, but in terms of these are our ways of doing things behind the scenes, and these are the people that we want running it, and this is how we want them to look and speak. I don't know that the school is ever willing to budge off that. I mean, maybe it is, but I don't have a lot of evidence.
Well, I like what you said about James Franklin. I don't know him. You had relations with him, talking with him, and getting to know him. He is who he is, but he won 9 games back to back.
Yeah.
It just shows you're in Middle Tennessee. And, come on, spare us all. The kids got to be able to qualify. I mean, half the kids at the rest of the SEC schools could qualify to get into Vandy, but I think they won't go there unless they see the commitment to win. man, if I were the chancellor of Vanderbilt, I could turn that place into a superpower because I would go to every kid and say, man, you come here, you can go to the Owen College of Business, our medical school. My God, when I got in the bond business back in 1991, I built my book on selling bonds to Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Back then, their endowment was $3.2 billion. Now it's about $11 billion. But I mean, I know a lot about Vanderbilt, but I would sell that education, and I'd say, well, look what they do at Notre Dame. Look what Pat Fitzgerald did at Northwestern. And look what they've done. Jim Harbaugh and David Shaw have had great runs at Stanford. You know, they and you can do it. And that's what makes me mad and I'm not even, a Vanderbilt alum, but you know the program well, and I have a lot of respect for your opinions. So I'm going to put the ball in your court because got a lot of listeners that have texted me this morning about, hey, ask him how serious they are because you got a capable coach. They need to let him have everything he needs.
Look, you're not wrong about that. I mean, they messed it up in 2018 when the AD had a vacancy. They had people who I'm not going to name names, but I know this they had dudes who wanted that job, who had won ball games other places at big levels that were very interested because they view it the way you do. It's a sleeping giant. I talked to somebody on the search committee at the time. We'll never forget. It was at midfield of the game when they played South Carolina in 2018. And a person on the committee came up to me and said, hey, I'm just letting you know, this is the way we're looking for Vanderbilt people who can do it our way. And these other people may be great other places, but they're not right for us. And I just remember thinking at that second, y'all are screwed. You're going to mess this up and you're never going to figure it out. And that's how it is. That's how it's turned out. They're easy fixes. They could blow up the athletic department today and go find somebody who could run it and give them control. I don't think they want to do that. I think to some degree they do. Ultimately, I think they would rather lose their way than win.
Yeah, I like this. David in Memphis. Would Vanderbilt ever leave the SEC in football only?
You can't do that.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
Yeah, this is what I was going to ask you. I mean, that's the one sport they've got to be successful in, because that's the moneymaker. And when they were successful into the 50s, and that's what's frustrating is that, you look at me, the series with Auburn. Auburn just now took the lead in that series. It's 22, 21, and 1. But, I mean, from 1955 to 2008, they only played 14 times. Auburn won them all. Then they lost in 08 and 2012. But you've seen what Vanderbilt can do. And who doesn't want to come to Nashville? After SEC Media Days this summer, have it here every year.
Look, Rob, Vanderbilt was born on third base, and it keeps trying to figure out how to steal second and first.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Chris, you've got everything in the world going for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And okay. So that's –
I have been screaming these things for years. I've been called every name in the book. I remember just thinking in 2018 that they were about to really screw themselves. And I said it, I took all kinds of heat for it, but let's look at the scoreboard. And look, the person that's running the AD now has been running it since 2016, maybe not in title.
Yeah.
But David Williams gave her the job in 2016. You had a year of Malcolm Turner. They drove him crazy, fired him, ran him out, whatever. I mean, Vanderbilt never fires anybody. It's always a resignation for the most part. But, he got there in a year, fought against everybody there. They wouldn't let funds go to athletic. That's not a problem anymore.
Yeah.
But they don't know how to win. Nobody in that building knows how to win. And that's where, I mean, again, let's look at where they are. I think it says it all.
Yeah. I mean, it's like some guys I duck hunt with, they're not willing to get out of the pit and move the decoys around. Well, I wonder why they didn't kill any ducks. You got to try something different. But it's going to me, all I can say is look at Tim Corbin. You're right. He's done it. Question here. Here's another one. I like this one. Howard and Hernando. You cover Vanderbilt, you cover the SEC. Got a lot of questions coming up. Will Zach Arnett leave after 1 year at MSU? There's some story last week. I don't know how true it is. Of course, if it's a rumor, it's a rumor. But Zach Arnett going to go to Southern, Southern Cal and be defensive coordinator with Lincoln Riley. Well, why would you do that? They don't play defense out there. But let's look around the SEC at some of the jobs, guys that might be walking the green mile. Zach Arnett was there for 3 years as the defensive coordinator. Why would he leave after 1 year? Why wouldn't he just bring in somebody to run an offense suited to his current personnel?
Well, look, I'm not super tied into that beat.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you this. I will listen, and there's a really good podcast that probably a lot of people in your audience have heard of it. And if not, I would really recommend it. It's McCready and Siskey. It's Neil McCready who covers Ole Miss, and Tyler Siskey, who's been and they talk football in a way that nobody else does. They are super well connected. There was talk yesterday, a lot of talk on their show, that a lot of smoke around Mississippi State being ready to maybe move on. So I don't think Zach Arnett's going to leave. I think it's going to be, they may decide, hey, we need to move on. No, look, if you think you've really made a mistake and you know he's not the guy, then I think sure. But he's not had a recruiting class yet. He took over under difficult circumstances. I'm not around and in that building and knowing all the things to make a qualified judgment, but there's been a lot of noise there. They've got, let's see. Oh goodness. They've got at A&M. They got Southern Miss. They'll win that one. And they've got Ole Miss. Look, if they can win one of those 2 games, I think at that point they're 6-6 and get to a bowl. In my mind, that might be enough to justify giving a guy a second year. But also, I didn't like the way they – and I get any time that you were in an offensive scheme like the one that Mike Leach ran, you've either got to continue with it or you got to make a break from it at some point and go your own direction. And so that was always a tough call. I don't know how I would have handled that. Maybe he should have stuck with it while he had Will Rogers around and then transition later. He's in better position to make that call than I am. But certainly I'm guessing that did not make picking up for Mike Leach and taking this program over any easier, because at some point you've either got to continue to run that system or you've got to figure out a way to wean yourself off. And that's not easy for anybody. No,
it's not. And you go from running an air raid offense but I would have just said, look, I would have taken a legal pad out, reasons to stick with the air raid. Then the other column on the other side, reasons to leave the air raid. Reasons to stay, I've got Will Rogers.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to move. And that guy, as they say in the South, when you're about to slam somebody, bless his heart. But God help him. I mean, think about it. We have Jake Wimberly on from ESPN 105.9, the afternoon drive on with us a lot. I was on his show yesterday afternoon at 5:15, and he knows the kid very well. Knows his dad. He calls the games down there at Rankin. He's done it for years. God, I would want Will Rogers as my quarterback. And he came back, and and KJ Jefferson almost went to Mississippi State last year. So there's a lot of little parallels here. But you're right. You went out in the first year. You just got to show sign of fight, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and look, if you beat either Texas State, I'm just presuming they're going to beat Southern Miss at this point because Southern Miss is pretty bad. But if you either upset Ole Miss in the season, then I think everybody's probably excited at that point. But even if you get A&M, despite the record, it's a top 20 team by most computers. It's still a good team. They cannot win a close game to save their lives. To me, that would be enough. But a losing season, look, they've got the 9-year bowl streak or whatever it is. It might be longer than that. And I know one of those was kind of a gifted COVID bowl game where I think they were under 500 and got one that way. But still, that's, I can understand both sides. I don't know that I know enough to make a qualified judgment, but I did watch the first few weeks and just like, man, you guys did this and you did it really well. And I had some questions about how quickly they made a flip to doing things another way offensively.
Yeah, Mississippi State right now is 1-5 in the conference, 4-5 overall. So, and look at Florida. That's another program that's in a very tough spot. But I don't think Billy Napier is in any danger of losing his job.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't think so. I don't think he should be. I did not think before the season they were very good. I don't think they're awful, but I just look at their team, and I apologize if I have said this on your show before. I don't look at this Florida team and think vintage Florida team. Certainly not vintage Steve Spurrier Florida. I don't think this team has the star power that most teams had. And I think they have made something work with Graham Mertz. They've gotten a lot out of him. The running game to me has been a little disappointing. But the thing I said before the season, look at that schedule. It's as tough as anybody in the country. Again, you fire the previous coach because he's not bringing in talent. You can't in the next breath fire a guy after 2 years. If you thought talent was the issue there, and in the next breath say, hey, we're getting rid of this guy after 2 years, especially when he's addressing the thing that was a problem in the first place, I think you give Billy Napier time, he'll win there.
He's sitting on the number 2 or 3, depending on the service that you look at, recruiting class right now. He's got DJ Lagway, quarterback out of Texas, recruiting a lot of other studs to Florida. I think, and I was talking with a Gator friend yesterday, and he said, if they were to pull the plug on Napier after 2 years, you're looking at an 8 to 10 year just miserable cycle you go into. And I think Dan Mullen is an offensive genius. He is. But he did not leave a lot of, the coach that gets fired doesn't leave you a lot of talent usually. He gets fired because he didn't have the players. So that's an interesting one right there.
Well, look, coaches don't leave the SEC unless you're at Vanderbilt. If you leave the SEC, it's because you're fired.
Yeah, that's right. Once you get into the club, and it's hard to get into the club, this is better than Bushwood. I can tell you that. It takes a lot to get in this club. Don't sell yourself short, Judge Smells. You're one hell of a slouch. That's what they did leaving. Nobody. The last time Auburn's lost a coach to another school that wasn't fired was 1922 when Iron Mike Donahue left after winning 99 games and 3 national championships. Might as well count them. 1910, 1913, 1914. Everybody else counts them. Count them, Auburn. Quit worrying about what other schools are going to say about you. Michigan claims 11. Come on. They've won 1 national championship since 1948, I might add. Yep. Michigan, we're told every day, is the blue blood of college football. That's not, they got a hell of a program. And I'm a fan of Jim Harbaugh because I like him because I know that he gets under Ohio State's skin. And I think they're pushing this narrative to get him out of here. And they're making stuff up that every school does.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I think that's one of those that, you start emptying Michigan's closet and maybe Michigan starts emptying other people's closets. And it's kind of the way no SEC schools used to turn into other SEC schools because whatever we've got on you, you've got on us too. So, I think that's going to be interesting. They crossed the line in some of that stuff for sure. The advanced scouting, the things that you just don't do.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. Are you gonna blow up the playoff in the Big Ten title over it? I'm guessing not. And by the way, I think they're going to win out. They haven't played anybody yet, but I think the computers have them as the best team in the country by about 2.5 points over whoever's next, which I think is Ohio State. So, and they got that game at home.
Yeah, and I'm just looking here at some stats. I agree with you. I think Michigan wins out. I definitely do. But look at scoring offense. They're 5th in the country, about 41 points a game. Scoring defense, I know the best team they've beaten
under 7 points a game.
Yeah, under 7 points. And look who's right behind them. Ohio State, just under 11. Right behind them, Penn State, just under 12. And just under them, Iowa, just under 14. You know what that tells me? They don't have any good offenses in the Big Ten.
Well, and I want to throw in something else too. Look who are the probably unquestioned top 2 teams. Well, I think they are. I don't know who would be questioning this. The top 2 teams in the SEC right now are Georgia and Alabama, which also happen to be the 2 best defenses without, I think, a lot of debate.
Correct. Yeah, that's a great point. And you look at the the offenses around the country. The Pac-12, they're having a good year. It's their last year, but they don't play defense out there. Not much.
Oregon plays a little bit,
but yeah, with the exception of Oregon and Washington,
yeah.
I think they're pretty good. And Arizona's improved. And so no, you're right. And I'll tell you what, I like this question here. Chris in Oxford. Lane Kiffin will need to call his best game ever Saturday night in Athens. Give me your gut feeling on that. And by the way, I want to give you I'll tell you what I think you are because of what you say about Vanderbilt. You've got guts. You're a truth broker. There are two kinds of people in this world you'll surround yourself with. People that'll sign off on every dumb idea you've got because they want to go to your lake house and go to your beach house and hang out with you. And there are people that'll say, Chris, that's a bad idea. Looking at the, forward projections, the 36 and the 60-month, income projections, I think we would lose 20% sequentially. Let's don't do that. That's a bad idea. Well, you pay me to give you my opinions and advice. I like you tell the truth. You didn't like the girl kicker at Vanderbilt. Neither did I. God help us. If she'd have rolled around and somebody like Javon Curse or Takeo Spikes is out there at 20 miles an hour and hits her, there'd be congressional hearings about football is too rough. I mean, thank you for being a truth broker. But
I didn't have an issue with her kicking in that game on face value. I mean, and she did hit a couple extra points, although they could have gotten blocked also. But I had a problem with they had alternatives that they chose to ignore, and that was my issue. But anyway, back to Ole Miss. Yes, I mean, is there a path for them to win? Yes, but also let's look at what happened last time Ole Miss went on the road to a team that can defend. They went to Alabama, they scored 10 points. I think that both teams are good offensively. Ole Miss is probably a little flashier than Georgia in some ways, but they're both really good. I don't know that there's that much difference in the offenses. Defensively, though, that's where you get the separation. I think Ole Miss's defense is a couple levels down from Georgia. I don't think anybody would argue that. That's also in Athens. I think if that game is in Oxford, it is wildly entertaining. And by the way, we're going to get one of those next week when Tennessee hosts Georgia. But I just think the home field advantage and the gap in the defenses, to me, Lane Kiffin is going to have to call his best game ever because I think they're starting out behind when they line up.
Yeah, and one thing Ole Miss has really gotten better at is their 1-2 running back punch is improved. They were in a zone blocking offensive line. This is what Yancey Porter and I talked about. He told me this. Rebel Yell Hotline. He'll be on with us tomorrow. They went back to more of a mix. They were playing man, and now they're doing, I think, a mix of the two. But after they lost to Alabama, Ole Miss has gotten a lot better. And, they've got the running back transfer from SMU. And then, of course, Quinshon Judkins. He started off slow. I think he got banged up a little bit. But the offensive line problems were the real catalyst that kept them from being successful. I think, Trey Harris had 219 yards receiving against A&M last Saturday. He's a transfer from Louisiana Tech. Nobody does it better of vetting players via the portal than Lane Kiffin. And I think their defense is good enough, but just they can't have turnovers. It's going to be a night game. Kirby Smart will have every Georgia fan screaming. He will make this a maximum effort game.
And one thing that's different, Georgia's pass defense is elite. Georgia's rush defense is
okay,
ordinary-ish. I mean, and it's surprising to say, but I do stats where I take sacks out of it.
Yeah.
They're allowing 4.7 per rush play. That is very un-Georgia-like. I don't think they've got a Jordan Davis or some of the guys they've had in the middle in past years that just make it impossible. Now, I think they're still an elite defense, still probably the best in the country. But there are some pieces missing here with Georgia defensively that I don't think that they missed in those back-to-back national championships. And we'll see if Ole Miss can take advantage of that. And look, it might be to Ole Miss's advantage. Well, I mean, look, Ole Miss plays fast and runs the ball a lot anyway, so I'll strike what I'm about to say. But I think they've got to figure out a way to keep the clock running, play to their style, play to their strength, and probably go a little more ground heavy, because that is where Georgia seems to be a little bit more vulnerable. And oh, by the way, Georgia's not been a turnover forcing defense in past years. They're a little bit more of that this year.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Another one, Johnny in Dothan, Alabama, I presume. Who do y'all pick in Tennessee versus Missouri up in Columbia Saturday? Missouri went on the road, gave Georgia the best game anybody's given them in Athens this year. Can they put it all together and beat Tennessee? Joe Milton has been getting a lot better the last few weeks. He's finally, I think, calming down as the leader of the Tennessee offense.
Yeah, I've said this all week. I would take the home team in this game. And look, if it's Tennessee, it's a much easier pick. Tennessee has blown the doors off Missouri the last couple of years. I just think this Missouri team is a little bit better than what the numbers have shown. They've got an experienced quarterback in Brady Cook. Missouri's not an easy place to win a road game. Heck, Georgia almost lost there last year. Tennessee, for the most part, has not played well on the road, did not play well against Florida. Played a great half against against Alabama, and then had a disaster of a second half in that one before getting beat by double digits. Did go handle Kentucky pretty well in Lexington. So there is that. The last time they went on the road, Tennessee did perform well. It's hard for me to pick against the home team in this one. I don't think it'll be I think it might come down to a field goal at the end, but I'm taking Missouri. I'm not super confident about it, but it's that Tennessee on the road versus Tennessee at home, which is where my jumping off point is here.
Yeah, I think Tennessee in the last two games has scored in the 60s in this one.
They put up a bunch.
Yeah, they put up a bunch. But Cody Schrader leads the SEC. Isn't that amazing? Going into week 10.
Yeah.
He's the leading rusher in the conference, and he's less than 1,000 yards. And I think what's happened, and we talk about this every day, the running back by committee, we're going back to the days of the wishbone. You know? That's what's happening. And trivia question here. Can anyone name the starting backfield at Auburn in the Wake Forest game, 1982, Bo Jackson's freshman year? The starters. It's weird. Ron O'Neal, Walker County High School, Barbecue, number 44, the fullback. Halfbacks were Lionel Little Train James, Albany, Georgia, Daughtery High School. And the other one was Willie Howell.
William Anders. Oh.
Willie Howell from Thomaston, Georgia, Robert E. Lee High School down there on the Flint River. And he was replaced in that Wake Forest game by Bo. And Willie, he was just replaced by Bo Jackson. What do you say if
yeah.
But I think about this running back by committee, the NFL, the message is there. Save your body, man. And so you got to recruit a bunch of running backs now. It's changing. But I think you got fresh legs. You better have a depth chart, though.
Yeah, Georgia does it. Tennessee does it. Alabama does it. Ole Miss to some degree does it with Bentley. LSU certainly does it. I think now Auburn leaned a little more heavy on Hunter last week, and I would have too, the way he was running the ball, although they had some holes through center that you and I could have run through in that first quarter.
I could have. Yeah. Look, I know you're on a tight schedule. Stay if you can, but if not, I know you got to get going. You said 8:30. Let people know how they can follow you and keep up with all your great work. And it's so much fun having you on here because you're well-versed in so many different subject areas, but you are always quick to offer true opinions and true thoughts. And I appreciate that. Unlike I see a lot on the national media shows.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, we're doing an exhaustive preview of SEC basketball at 9:30. We're doing this at 8:30. All the games, and so I've got to do a little prep work for that. I'll tell you what, if we can do rapid fire, I'll give you 5 more minutes though.
Okay, yeah. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bring in Gary Harris is gonna join us in Tuscaloosa, Tider Insider TV. So,
or if you just want to go on, that's fine too.
Yeah. Well, what I was gonna say is one more question before we go.
Sure.
Tell me this. Michigan hasn't played any elite teams. and Rutgers is the best team that they've played.
Mm-hmm.
We had Bill Hancock, chairman of the College Football Playoff Committee, on the show last Wednesday. And one of our guests, Doug Dean of the AU Dose in Birmingham, asked him, he said, hey, what about Michigan and all? Doug asked a very pointed question, and he said, look, we're not a regulatory, we're not a governance body. We strictly are here to rank the teams based on their on-field play. And I like Mr. Bill Hancock, 19 years on the college basketball committee. Would you agree with that? That I don't think anything is going to happen to Michigan.
No, I don't either. And it's kind of like one time I was listening to a Hall of Fame voter in baseball talk about how do you evaluate the steroid era. And I don't know that I agree with this, but his answer was kind of like, hey, that's baseball's responsibility to sort that stuff out.
Yeah.
It's my job as a voter just to, okay, I got what's in front of me, and I'll vote on that. I don't know that I agree with it, but I respect it.
Yeah.
And he's right. It shouldn't be the committee's job to adjudicate justice. Now, look, is that going to be in the back of people's heads on the committee? I mean, look, everybody watches the news. Everybody knows what happened. Everybody's probably got an opinion on that. Does that seep in? I don't know. But I think you're right. And look, I think Michigan is going to win out and be in the playoff.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
All right, Rob Browne, boy, my finger slid on the monitor there and hit the button. I apologize for that. You were in mid-sentence before you go, Chris, and finish what you were saying. You were making some great comments.
Well, I'm not sure where it cut off, but I think that the committee's job, it's a lot to ask of them to adjudicate justice, and plus you don't know all the facts. I think at this point, probably the best thing is just to take what's presented to you. I think Michigan is going to keep winning. I think computers have them best team in the country, as I said earlier. That Ohio State game will be a toss-up. Most places, Michigan will be a slight favorite, but it's in Ann Arbor. They've got Penn State this weekend. That could be interesting on the road. I don't know that I trust Penn State to score enough points in that one.
Yeah.
I think Michigan, presuming it gets the chance, is going to advance to this. It'll get Iowa in the title game probably. That'll be a route. I think Michigan is going to run the table and get there.
Yeah. Gary, you heard what Chris Lee, the Southeastern 14 and Vandy rivals up in Nashville said about Michigan before we get into Alabama. But what about that whole story? Is it getting a lot of chatter on your station there in Tuscaloosa with Alabama fans? Because Michigan is a team that's ranked ahead currently of Alabama in the playoff rankings.
Yeah, Rob, it's getting some. I mean, it's a topic of conversation. I don't think it's a big focus here, simply because, Alabama's 8th, and I think the folks here are looking more at the teams that are right in front of Alabama more so than that top 4 at the moment. But I agree with what Chris said. I don't really know how to gauge it, and I don't know that anybody does. And I'll be completely honest, I'm not sure how much of an advantage Michigan received from it. So, I mean, unless there's a lot of facts out there and somebody can make a judgment on it, I don't see how you could do anything to them. They're playing their season, they're unbeaten. And as Chris said, they've got a very good chance to make it into the college football playoff. So unless someone's got some hard and fast evidence unless the Big Ten does something, there's not anything really that can be done. I don't think the NCAA can do anything. And I don't beat up on the NCAA the way some people do, but I don't see how that they've got the power to do anything. And if they do, I think Michigan will fight it. So I think the season will play out. Maybe down the road we'll have more information, and we'll know what happened. But at this point in time, other than the fact that they tried to gain an advantage by, getting information and stealing signs, that's really all I can base it on. And I just don't know that anybody knows enough about it to actually, if you're saying, hey, we're going to remove Michigan from the college football playoff, that is a huge decision to make.
Yeah.
And you had better have some cold, hard facts that they gained a competitive advantage by doing it. And I'm not sure at this point, from what I've seen, it's a crazy story. Why they would do it, I have no idea. Jim Harbaugh is a peculiar guy. I have talked to people that know him well that say once you know him, you'll love him. But I don't know him well, and he comes across as a peculiar, unlikable guy to me. So, but outside of that, I don't really know what to say on it because I just don't know enough about it. Yeah.
I mean, that's a great take on it, because he is kind of an odd looking guy with the birth control glasses, and he's just, but he's smart and he wins. He won at San Diego, he won at Stanford, and he took a Michigan program that was floundering and got him, playing. And he brought camps down to the South. It was a lot of fun. But Chris, I know, man, I try to always promise to keep people on their tight schedule. You've got to do a basketball. Let people know how they can follow you and keep up with you. And let's do this again next week. And thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, go to Southeastern 14 at YouTube, and where you find your podcast, you can also search us under there. We just joined the Believe Network, so a lot of our shows are under that umbrella, but you can find them on Apple Podcasts or anywhere. We cover football, baseball, and men's basketball in this league wall to wall. I think one thing that separates us, we're still square in the middle of football and hitting that hard, but we're also covering basketball, where I think a lot of people are going to pick that up in January. So if you like your feel of both, and we'll be here for baseball when that arrives too in February, I think you'll love what we do.
Hey, True Grit Journalism is alive every time you and Gary are on here. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
All right. Hey, Gary, man, I want to say thank you for taking time. I love it. You are driving. One of these days you're going to be parachuting down and doing the show with us or something. Just like, we are at 30,000 in a halo. Here we go. But look, man, I love that, talking about basketball. I love talking about football, baseball, recruiting, all this stuff. I got to give credit to you and Rodney, because it doesn't matter where I went to school. When you do a show, you're like a judge. My grandfather was a judge. He said, when you go in the courtroom, you better get amnesia if you're on that jury, and just you look at it openly. You talked about it, and so did Rodney. Jalen Milroe, Kevin Steele, the Steele factor. It's a big, big factor. And I said this to Rodney a couple of days ago when he was on the show on the May Veterinary Clinic Report Tuesday. I think Nick Saban's having more fun coaching than I can ever remember him having. And I think he's going to look back one day, when he's up at his house at the lake, and say, 2023 was my favorite team I ever coached, for a lot of reasons. Would you agree? Am I nuts, or do I need to go to Taco Casa and get a taco burger? What's going on?
Well, I think he's enjoying himself, and I think he's also enjoying Alabama being relevant. And what I mean by that is, regardless of what he says, he knows what's been said. He knows what's been written, whether he reads it or hears it himself directly. Someone tells him, and I think he knows that there were a lot of people that counted this team out. And I mean that. I mean, we literally counted them out after the Texas and South Florida games. There were a lot of, analysts, national and regional, and, even locally, that just said this team doesn't have it. This team is not going to contend for a playoff spot. And, it might be the end for Saban. And to have, gone on and have done what they've done to this point, knowing that the job isn't finished. So I think he takes a lot of pride in that. I think he takes a lot of enjoyment out of this team, building this team. It's a work in progress still. It's not it's not a dominant football team, but it's become a really good team. And, the quarterback just keeps getting better and better. And, now there's a chance for this team to go on and do something special. So, yeah, I think he's having a really good time. I think that he still enjoys coaching. He still enjoys the relationship with the players. And, as long as that's something that he enjoys, he's going to keep doing it. I think about the playoff because, so much talk about Michigan. And I was an advocate for an 8-team playoff, Rob, not a 12-team. And I still am. And I'm glad we're going to, because this would be a year now. this final year of the 14 playoff that, we're going to have some teams that are left out that are going to have legitimate complaints.
Oh, yeah.
But to me, 8 would have been better. Look at it this year. If it were 8 right now, you would have 8, Alabama playing Ohio State, 7 playing 2, 6 playing 3, 5 playing 4. And I think 12 is still a little too many. I think those 4 teams and doing the buys and all that stuff is a little bit convoluted, but I'd love to have an 18 playoff this year. Then Alabama would be in good shape. But, it is what it is, and they've got some work to do. But, yeah, I think he's enjoying this team and enjoying this season.
Well, you said 18 playoff versus 12-team playoff. And, and I think what makes college football so exciting is in a 14 playoff, the fans, well, it's not fun for them, but it creates a lot of attention to be fifth. If you got an 18 playoff, the number 9, you kind of froze up there for a second, but that's what makes college football, because it is still a small number compared to what NCAA basketball is. 357 teams are eligible to make March Madness, and they take 68, counting the 4 teams that play up in Dayton, the play-in games. So
hold on, I'm sorry, I lost you for a minute.
We got you. Okay. We got you there. Yeah, I think the Minders may have been, the Minders up in Ann Arbor or the Big Ten country may have been censoring us because we were talking about something other than the Big Ten being the best conference in America. I always think about that. But Gary, what I was saying was it's exciting. It creates interest for the fans. If you have a 14 playoff, the number 5 team, I mean, it's like, why weren't they in? A&M felt that way in 2020, the year of the virus. But bottom line, Alabama lost to Texas, and you remember the comments. I mean, what people do not understand is you have a responsibility. You can't just go as a sports director there at WVUA TV 23 in Tuscaloosa. You've got to face these people, face to face in the flesh. It's easy for some slob to hide behind a fake moniker on social media and rip players and rip coaches all day long, because they never are around them. And I always like to say, well, would you say that to that person's face? Gary, right. you get that opportunity. Nick Saban, I know he opens up, he's real warm and fuzzy and loves to have the media around and all. So it's just, but seriously, he's got a job to do, and you got a job to do.
Yeah, and I guess too, when you're cover the team every day and you see, the Texas game was, it was a loss. There's no doubt about it. But Texas is a really good team. They had a returning veteran quarterback, a quarterback they don't have right now, and you see how that's impacted their team. They're not the same team that they were, and I sat there and I watched Alabama make a lot of mistakes, but I said, they're leading the game going into the fourth quarter, and they lost the fourth quarter just the way that they won the fourth quarter the other night against LSU, and they won it against Tennessee, and they've won it against some other teams since then. But they lost the fourth quarter that night, and then the next week that experiment or whatever it was with Buckner and Simpson, and you've got Milroe on the bench. But they came through that, and I knew this was still a good team. I didn't know if it was going to run the table. I picked Alabama to lose at Texas A&M, but I knew it was a good team, and I knew it was a good team after the Texas game. I mean, when you lose a game around here, everybody's ready just to throw in the towel. But I saw the potential of this team, and I know this, Rob, you know this from talking to me, I always felt like Jalen Milroe was the best quarterback for this team.
You did.
I did,
always.
Regardless of even what was going on. In the Texas game where he made some mistakes, but he made some plays in that game too. And they had chances. They had 2 touchdowns called back, and that was a problem early in the year. I think they've had 6 touchdowns called back on the season, whether it be through offense, defense, or special teams. But now that they've gotten on a little bit of a rhythm, they've cleaned some stuff up. They're playing sound, fundamentally good football. The offensive line's come a long way. Milroe now is using both his arms and his legs. Defensively, they're stout. The kicking game is solid, and this team's going to be a tough out for anybody. And if Alabama can get in the playoff, I think they can win the national championship. Doesn't mean that they will, but I don't think there's anybody out there that if Alabama plays them, you're going to say, "Oh my gosh, Alabama can't beat that team." I mean, this is Alabama. This is the norm to be in this conversation. So the loss to Texas was bad, and it's bad in the playoff because unless Texas loses again, you're going to have that head-to-head matchup hanging over you. But in terms of this team, sometimes losing a game can be a good thing. And I think in this case, losing that game has helped this team improve and become better. And if they'd have found a way to win that game, maybe they would have dropped one against somebody else. So I think they got a lot out of that first 3-game stretch against Middle Tennessee, Texas, and South Florida that's helped define where this team is at now. And Rob, they've just gotten better and better. And I said early in the year, I might have said it on your show, I said I think this team will be really good in November. The key is can they make November matter? And to do that, they had to do what they did, and that's run the table, man. Listen, their resume and who they've played, I think is as strong as anybody out there. Yeah, they lost, but they played Texas. They've beaten Ole Miss. They've beaten LSU. They've beaten Tennessee. So their resume, just in terms of who they've played and who they've beaten, I'd really put it up there against anybody's.
Yeah, in Texas, you look at the Big 12. It looked like Oklahoma was going to end up having a good season, maybe even make the playoff. They lost to Kansas on the road, and they lost Bedlam last week. They did everything in the world to motivate and fire up Gundy and the Cowboys. They lost 27-24. And so, Texas in a rematch in the Big 12, who knows who they're going to play. But Texas is pretty damn good football team. Back to Alabama, and want to throw this question in here. Larry in Memphis, talk about the Bama running back room. And one of my favorite players, because Donnie Jones, my friend down in Gulf Shores, is from Hueytown. And we watched, Roydell Williams. My God, his stats in high school. You got to cover him in high school. And by the way, I would be, crazy if I don't get you to give us an update on the high school, the 8 Mile War and all that. That's another thing I love about having you on here is you appreciate high school football for what it is, because without it, we've got no college football, and it's still the best there is. As much as we love college football, high school football is the best.
All right, first on the running backs, yeah, and I saw Roydell Williams after the game Saturday night. He was one of the players that was in the interview room, and I reminded him of his time at Hueytown. And he's not the biggest guy. I mean, he's put together well, but he's short.
Yeah.
But he's a north-south runner. He's a downhill runner, man. He plants that foot in the ground and gets those shoulders square, and he hits that hole with some authority. And you got McClellan, who is a different kind of back, a little longer, leaner back, and more of a stop and jump and cut guy, and then you got Jam Miller, who's bigger than both of those guys, and it's a nice compliment. And waiting in the wings, of course, are Justice Haynes and Richard Young. So they've got a really strong group of running backs. I wouldn't say that there's a superstar back in the group, but they're all really good, and they all have different strengths. So that running back contingent right now is strong, and they played all 3 of them the other night with McClellan, Roydell Williams, and Jam Miller. And as far as the high school football, AHSAA state playoffs begin tonight, and of course more games tomorrow night. So it's here, and it's a great time of the year. We're still, I woke up. I'm actually off from TV today. I'm playing in the baseball country golf tournament at noon after my radio show, and I woke up this morning and walked outside, and I thought, man, this is mid-April day. We still, it's incredible weather, but we still really haven't had. I've just said it gets so old here in Alabama. I don't know the last time that we've had in the regular season a high school football game where you had to bundle up a little bit. And now we're into the playoffs and chance for some showers tomorrow, which we need. But again, warm temperatures. So I love the high school football. I wish we could get a little high school football weather to go with it, but that just doesn't seem to be in the cards. Whether it's global warming or it's just the pattern that we're in. It's a strange time. I see where Liz and Pelham is asking, will Milroe be back next year? Well, he can be if he wants to be. He's a third-year sophomore, so technically he would be eligible for the draft as a third-year player. I don't think that that's going to happen. So my guess is he will be back. I mean, he's a starting quarterback at Alabama. He's having a great year, so I wouldn't, think that he would want to leave to go anywhere else. And I don't think he wants, is ready for the National Football League. So my expectation is that he would be back and certainly be in line to be the starter next year too.
Yeah, and he's from Katy, Texas. Really good player. my friend Dave Cody out in Austin, worked there 35 years at Channel 7, sent me an awesome picture talking about high school football. It's a picture. He said, I called 3 of these kids' games at Lake Travis. It's Cameron Dicker, the Chargers kicker, Brendan James, reserve offensive lineman Garrett Wilson, Jets wide receiver. They're joined by photo bomber Chris Rumpf, number 2. Chargers won that game, obviously 27-6. But, getting to cover these guys. And I think Roydell Williams is going to play. I think he'll play in the NFL. I think he's got to get a chance to. You come out of that Alabama group, you've got a great offensive line usually in front of you. That's the next question. And I'm going to throw it in here. It's kind of funny with the interweb. You got listeners and viewers all over the place. And as we shift topics, a lot of times you'll start getting, people listening, talking about Alabama. Paul in Montgomery. Is Bama's offensive line the most improved group on the team at this point?
It's a lot better, and it continues to get better. I mean, it always had potential. Those are big guys, and I guess maybe I was a little harsh on him too. I guess my thought process was if he isn't ready, put somebody else out there. But Caden Proctor, the true left tackle, really struggled early in the year, and he beat out Elijah Pritchett for the spot, and coming right out of high school, I don't care how talented you are, it's a different level of football. Seth was having problems snapping the football. I mean, there's no other way around it. He had a wrap on his hand pretty much most of the year. So I think that had something to do with that. Dalcourt was at right guard, a guy that they love around here. Good guy, good solid. Picked up, and they inserted Jaden Roberts into the lineup because Terrence Ferguson, who probably would have been in ahead of Roberts, he was dinged a little bit as well. And Jaden Roberts is just a beast. I mean, he has been a guy that's been a road grader. So now left to right, you've got Proctor, you've got Booker, you've got Seth at center, you got Jaden Roberts at right guard, and you've got JC at right tackle, and they're coming together, Paul. There's no doubt about it. And it's still not a great group yet, but boy, the physicality is there, the size is there, and their ability to get pushed now. In the fourth quarter of these games, they're starting to really lean on these defensive lines and that running game, and gives them a chance when they have a lead to put the game away. So I don't know if it's the most improved group on the team, but you can certainly make that argument. And they're getting, they just continue to get better and better.
Yeah, and something, Jaden Roberts, he's out of Houston, I think. And the quarterback on that team had gone to Auburn, and then he ended up not staying very long. Demetrius Davis, I think, went to Alabama State. But he is that guy's a beast at about 300.
Yeah, Jaden Roberts was committed to Auburn, Rob. He was actually
exactly
committed to Auburn and flipped and signed with Alabama. And he's just one of those road grader type of guys that he's got a nasty mentality, and I mean that as a compliment. It means he wants to get after people. So I think when you look at that offense, in addition to the improvement that Milrose made, the offensive line probably is a group that has come as far as they could possibly come to this point. And now you look at the stretch run, and when you got an offensive line that is that big and strong and has the potential to be dominant, it bodes well for Alabama's offense.
Yeah, and I see here Lindsey in Collierville. Gary Harris is what ESPN needs. He genuinely knows what he's talking about. Well, you do. You cover the high school. Let's talk real quick before you. Yeah, hey, look, Audrey's from Collierville. Collierville is part of Memphis. It's Germantown, Collierville. It's all in Shelby County. In fact, it's where Hewlett and Dunn is. But I got to ask you this: the high school football in Alabama playoffs are underway. The state is producing about 150 Division I players a year. A state of 5.1 million people. That's the 6th most of any state in America. It's another good crop.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's really. I've said this before. Anywhere that there's passion for something, you're gonna have good results. Good point. Alabama isn't as big as Georgia or Florida or Texas or California, but I'm telling you what, the passion in this state for football, the high school coaching is top notch. And same thing in Mississippi, which is even smaller state than Alabama. When you have this much passion for something, and granted, some of these small towns, as we've discussed, it's still the biggest thing that happens during the week. It's a high school football game on Friday night. And these kids grow up aspiring to play football. They want to play football. A lot of them see it as an opportunity to get a college education, or some, see it as an opportunity to go on and have a chance to play professional football and make a lot of money and change their lives and change the lives for their families. So there's a lot of highly motivated kids too. So yeah, the high school football here is, I think it's just, per capita, it's as good as anywhere. And I think you take the best team in Alabama each year, whether it's Thompson or, whatever school that it may be, back when Hoover went on its run, and you could put them up against the best high school anywhere, whether it be Mater Dei in California or one of the big Florida schools or Georgia schools, and they'd have a chance to win the game. Not saying that they would win it, but we've seen that even all the way back into the 70s and 80s. I remember one year J.O. Johnson out of Huntsville went up to Cincinnati Moeller and played them and won the game. And that's 40 something years ago. So I think the high school football here is outstanding. And as I said, we're looking forward to cranking it up tonight and tomorrow night. And,
let me ask you one quick question. Watching True South last week, I love that show about the food and the culture in the South. A town I've never been to. I know Alabama pretty well, over in the Black Belt, Gainesville, Alabama. That barbecue restaurant that place is. Tell me about that. I got to go there. How do I get there?
I've never been to the restaurant, but if you want to go to Gainesville from Tuscaloosa, all you do is just jump on the interstate and you just head southwest off 20 and 2059, and you pop off on one of those exits like you want to cut across to Philadelphia, Mississippi to go to the casino, and you'll run right through. You'll run right through Gainesville. It's there's not much to it, but some good fishing over there, in that area, off the river and all. But I've never been to that barbecue restaurant, but I'm highly familiar with Gainesville.
You got to come up and go trout fishing with me on the Spring River. I will take you trout fishing.
Well,
you just tell me when you can go. Seriously. Look, I know you got a big day ahead of you, but I always want to say this. Thank you. It means a hell of a lot to our listeners and our viewers. You got people all over the country that text me that are isolated and out way in Nevada or whatever. They go, man, I love hearing from a guy that knows what he's talking about, loves what he's doing, and is a damn good guy. So thank you so much. Let them know how they can follow you.
Appreciate it, Rob. Yeah, at Gary Harris _WVUA on Twitter /X, Gary Harris WVUA 23 Facebook page. And I'm really working to build that Facebook page up. Websites tide109.com and WVUA23.com. Thanks a lot, Rob.
You bet, man. Have a great day. We'll take a quick break. Be right back.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4 City exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne back here with you. Let me say something real quick before Coach Matt Dean and Ben Troupe join us here in just a minute for hour number 2. About some of our sponsors. Tom Martin's Body Shop, located downtown Memphis, G.E. Patterson and B.B. King. Great people to work with, open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I've known Tom 28 years. That body shop's been down there for, golly, close to 60 years. Great people in the front office. The paperwork, all that's easy to work with the insurance companies. Tom Martin's Body Shop. They got the best group of people. They can do detail, paint jobs, rebuild vehicles after wrecks, replace your windows. If you live in Memphis, you probably had a broken window from a rock coming out of a truck or from some scoundrel thieves breaking into your vehicle. They can replace your vehicle windows. They can get it done, and they do it quickly. Tom Martin's Body Shop, proud to be associated with them. Also, Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. They are open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m., 6 p.m. They've got the second largest Filson collection in the Southeast, largest collection of duck heads I see anywhere. They even carry Barber now. God, they've got some great looking stuff. Schaefer, Pendleton, Schaefer and Pendleton. When you see Pendleton, that jacket that you see John Dutton wearing on the TV show Yellowstone, that big, brown jacket he wears out there on the ranch, they sell that jacket at Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. They've got Devil Dog jeans made by a World War I Marine company. If you wear a size 36, you'll wear a 34. Automatically go 2 sizes down. They also have over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's cowboy boots, toy guns for the kids. They've got unbelievable looking women's clothing. The best collection of boot socks, hunting boots. They've got STS wear, some of the best looking leather and bags, Filson luggage. My God, they've got a lot of great stuff. Hire boots, Vask boots, Danner boots. I just bought a pair of the Danner low-cut hiking boots. We knocked out about 6 miles on this greenway up here in Clarksville it was hilly. Those shoes are awesome. They're breathable. They've got great Vibram soles on them, and you can knock out 5-10 miles, whatever. I think I could run in these things. I love them. Charles Hall, Laura Hall, the great people out there. They've got Ariat. They've got Rock Mount shirts, and check out the 50% off rack. It's got some great looking clothing out there. Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. All right, let's bring them in. All right, a 6'4", 245-pound junior from Swainsboro, but he matriculated at Augusta High School. Ben Troupe, and the coach, the pride of Davenport, Iowa, Matt Dean. Once a coach, always a coach. And Mac, John Hartwell, athletic director, said he had a meeting coming up with some coaches he's got to attend to. Imagine that, an athletic director. Might want to put your camera up a little bit, Matt, because we look like we've beheaded you. There we go. Okay. Yeah. Honey, I shrunk my guests, but here he is. But John will try to join us if he can. And then Ben yesterday had an emergency come up. Hope everything's okay. That is the part of live radio, live podcast, live TV. Just like in a game, sometimes the pregame planning that you put together, Coach Matt Dean, spit happens during a game, and you got to adjust on the fly, don't you? You can't panic, Matt. What happens if you do that? You got to eat sunflower seeds.
Well, you always got to have a plan B. And hello, Ben. Good to see you. That's what I always heard, Ben. You know this more because you're a Gator. I always heard that was one of Coach Spurrier's biggest strengths I heard was at half adjustments that he may make tweaking an offense if things weren't going the way he wanted to. Because, Ben, I coached football in 8th grade, but I heard the first 15 to 20 plays are scripted and everyone knows what the heck's going on. But after that, it's kind of a flow thing. Is that right, Ben?
Yeah. Even more so in the NFL, more than college. But, yeah, the thing about Coach Spurrier was he was really, really good at X and O's without sounding real X and O. Like he was a guy that understood people, and he adjusted what he did to us. So his thing was never ever talking about winning. He always talked about executing. He'll say, "Look, every time a play didn't work, he's showing why." He'll say, "You see this? He's supposed to be doing that. You see that?" And I think the thing is, when everybody does that, he goes, "It's not about missing a." He'll say, "It's not about missing a block. You can't miss the wrong block. You can miss a block. It can't be this one. It can't be because somebody." He said, "Somebody makes a play and misses a play, and every play call." But if I'm on the front side, if I'm blocking on the right and I'm the point of attack, I can't miss my block. Right. Because if I do that, disrupts the whole play. But he's teaching you accountability without yelling. That's what he was real good at. Now he's the head coach. Now the assistant coaches, them the drill instructors, they're gonna come at you. But they've built more of a rapport with us. The longer a coach, the more if a relationship a coach builds with you, he can say whatever to you. Like he really, really can, because you go from a coach told me something that really resonated. He said, "Did you hear what I said or did you feel what I said?" Because if you heard what I said, you take the feelings out. And when they say that, you go, because they go, get out your feelings. It's little stuff that they give you. And then after that, the yelling is the same. It don't sound the same. Because you go from telling other players, man, listen to what he's saying. Like just because, let's call it what it is. Coaches get criticized by the media, players get criticized by coaches. No one likes it. Like, just nobody likes it. But when a coach learns how to, at a post-game press conference, to have court, good game, bad game, I'm going to show y'all respect. When the player learns how good game, bad game to deal with it, Jeff Fisher used to say, hey, man, put your thick skin on now when you go into meetings. Because he said, because the quicker you can take it, the quicker it goes by. It's over. Yeah. It's done. But players need coaches in the worst way, because if I got pat on the back my whole life, man, you this, man, you that, and somebody get to yelling at me, I think it's something wrong with that person. Hey, bro, you don't supposed to talk to me like that.
That's right.
Because real coaching is rough. Real coaching means, hey, man, I only got a month to get y'all to think like me. Like, think about that. A coach is saying, like, coach, you coach basketball. So a point guard and y'all gonna have a different relationship than you in the center, than you in the forward.
Right.
Because the point guard runs the offense.
It's my quarterback.
Exactly. So when they coming down, you and her having a different conversation than the other four, because she might not like to play. You better, y'all can have a. But for me, it's just that you got to respect a person's positions first. Like, if I respect my head coach, I respect the fact he recruited me, got me down here, put me in. But then when a coach pulls you to the side and talk to you, you got to take that stuff to heart. Because I used to think that all players had the same relationship with the coach, and then you get older, we're like, nah, bro, I ain't never talked to him. For real? And then you realize coaches go, hey, man, I can't approach all y'all. All y'all are not approachable because that body language. So, yeah, Spurrier was great at coaching, simplifying it, and making it so that if we lost, that team, the team that beat us, they was a hell of a team, boy. When I had they had to be the show nothing, because having a good team when I played with Spurrier, Maryland won the ACC my sophomore year. We played them in the Orange Bowl, and the Orange Bowl MVP Taylor Jacobs only played in the first half. That game was over with, and it wasn't their. It's love Maryland, respect them, but Taylor Jacobs, Risha Caldwell, Jabbar Gaffney, Ernest Graham, Robert Gillespie, and Rex Russell throwing the ball. It's over. Woo. That's who you got to deal with. So I think that the coaches do a good job of saying, the assistant coaches, them the drill sergeants, man, they got the drilling in. That way, by the time you get in that team meeting room, it's yes sir, no sir to that head coach. Ain't no, what? Because that's a bad reflection of everybody. Plus, and Coach Spurrier wasn't no yes sir, no sir guy, right? But he'll take it. He'll take it. So yeah, it's just a lot of lessons. And it takes being now you asking me this when I'm 18, 17. Nah, I'm not talking like this at all. But looking back on it now, I think Spurrier still talks to me now because of the relationship we had back then. He threw me a couple of passes, but it wasn't like I wasn't a receiver. I was a tight end. I appreciate him, but I did a lot of blocking when I had Coach Spurrier. Won a lot of games though, so that's right.
Let me throw something at you. And I like what Ben just said. Now versus then, when you're 18 to 22, it's a lot different. And that's the whole thing about coaching. I think that's a great take on it. Let's get to some questions in here. Larson in Dalton, Georgia. This is the age we live in now. I don't know if this is an Oregon fan. Is Oregon physical enough in the trenches? Oregon has played. There are only 6 schools in the last 13 years that have played for the national championship 2 or more times. Oregon is one of those schools. They lost to Auburn on the last play of the game in 2010, 22-19. Wes Byram, field goal kicker out of St. Thomas Aquinas in Fort Lauderdale, kicked it after the Gators told him he could walk on. He went to Auburn and played there. Now, Oregon's a lot better, and they play pretty good defense, but you've got a good, perspective on the Ducks, and they got Bo Nix, who, grew up 3 years in the SEC. Let's talk about them and a possible rematch with Washington.
So that question is a really good question because in Dan Lanning's 2 years, Ben, they're 18-4. But if you go back to his very first game in Atlanta, Georgia whooped that tail, especially on the line of scrimmage. And what he's trying to do, because he's done it as a coordinator, is he's through recruitment and portal trying to build an SEC type front seven. You know what I'm saying? Oregon's always had speed and skill, but they're trying to do some things. So I think this year they are a lot better defensively. You look at the numbers, the metrics are there. And honestly, if you look at the Washington game, they let them 33-29 with 4 minutes to go. And they're one fourth down conversion away from taking 3 knees and walking out of that environment with a win. And then they missed a field goal to tie the game on the last play of the game. So they're hopeful they can get them again in the Pac-12 championship game. But, you know, they're in a mentality right now. They're almost – I was talking to my son, and, you know, they're in a mentality right now where last week was wild card week. This is divisional week. Next week is, the NFC championship game. And then their game against Oregon is the Super Bowl. They're taking this one game at a time. I know USC is coming there. My youngest son just got on the plane to go there. But they're not taking the Trojans lightly because Caleb Williams is the defending Heisman Trophy winner. So they know what that young man can do. But defensively, they have gotten better, to answer Larson's question. But I still think in 2 years from now, you're going to see a defense that resembles, maybe not as talented, but some of the defenses that Dan Lanning coached in the SEC.
You know, in thinking about this, Ben, what he just said, Dan Lanning was also an analyst with Nick Saban at Alabama. So you are a product of the people that you associate with. And I like that fact that it's not like he isn't familiar with what you're going to face as you come back east, because they'll be facing a lot. I mean, Oregon beats Washington in a rematch for the Pac-12 championship. They're going to be in the playoffs. And you go back to when they played Ohio State in 2014, they weren't as physical as they are now. I think what changed Oregon, guys, was Mario Cristobal recruiting the type of offensive lineman. Mario played at Miami for Dennis Erickson and Jimmy Johnson, I think 86-90. I know Tommy Tuberville on the show helped to recruit him. Think about it. He went to, maybe it was Pottsville, Pennsylvania, or Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, to recruit a defensive lineman who was about 6'2" named Dwayne Johnson. Yeah. He came to Miami. He's a really good wrestler and a good actor. But he had the misfortune of, and Tommy Tuberville told this on the show, nothing, I'm not violating anything. He said the guy named Warren Sapp out of Zephyrils High School in Apopka, Florida. I think it's a suburb of Orlando. They were like, well, he could be a hell of a tight end. He was like 6'3", 6'4", 225 pounds. And he goes, well, I think he could be an even better defensive lineman. So you're there with him and Jerome Browne, who died tragically in a car wreck years ago. But Tommy Tuberville said every day at practice, you would look around you and just your head would be, you'd go, did I just see that? And, this is the best team in America playing against the best team in America every time we have a scrimmage or practice. But something happened. Oregon is different now. Pinay, Saul, whatever. Talk about it, Ben. Running the ball, controlling the line of scrimmage is a state of mind, isn't it?
It is. And even going to, is Oregon physical enough? The answer is yes. The thing about the trenches is, are you made for it? Of course they're physical enough, right? But what happens is the trenches when we watch football, we're not watching the trenches. We're watching to see where the running back goes. We're looking down the field. When the game gets close and they go, all right, man, we're gonna huddle everybody in here together. Let them corners and the receivers stay out there. And you going, dude, they running the same play to the left, same play to the right, because O linemen don't like D linemen. D linemen don't like O linemen. And when you have that and when you go, hey, them old Nebraska teams that had Tommy Frazier in them, they finna run it. They about to run the option, right? You couldn't stop it because you had the perfect quarterback to go along with them Cornhuskers back then. And I think what Dan Lanning is doing is saying, look, I don't want cute O linemen, man. I want y'all to walk in the room and people get nervous because he understands you can be cute later on in life, man. Go get you you play for Oregon. You'll get a beautiful wife one day. And it ain't because of you. And that's fine. No one cares that she likes you because you go to Oregon. There ain't a man alive that said, hey, man, why your wife like you? Don't care we're married. I don't care why she does. And I don't got to be charismatic or handsome or none of that. But the games you win or lose going to come down to the part of football that no one talks about. Everybody wants the big D. Everybody wants a great quarterback or a great tight end or running back. You got a great old. The top 4 teams that make it, they're going to have one thing in common, the trenches. Every last one of them. Now, they ain't going to be at the same level, but coaches understand that you build a team from the inside out. You build a team around the quarterback, meaning give me a great center, a smart center. Give me a great left tackle, a big, mean, ugly guard that don't like nobody. He don't like nobody because what it does is, look at Alabama. Alabama lost to Texas and people wrote them off. They haven't lost since. You know why? Because that old lineman said, hey, we're going to protect this dude. Listen, that kid ain't the best quarterback in the SEC. He don't got to be. That's what makes the team good is my best player ain't that quarterback. Where your best player? Oh, look at my left tackle. Look at my right guard. And what you're doing is now look at coach. Look at LSU on Saturday. Everybody was like, dude, this our shot. They ain't got a Tua. They ain't got a Mac Jones. They ain't got a Jalen Hurts. They ain't got a Bryce Young. Still lost. And I'm telling you what frustrates any team is when Oregon plays Washington in the Pac-12 championship. They tell the D-line of Oregon, we gonna hit Penix Jr. we gonna hit him and hit him and hit him. For a quarter, he ain't really following through them throws. He gonna tell Bo Nix, man, you spent 3 years in the SEC. You had to play LSU, Texas A&M, Alabama, Auburn. I mean, every year. I just think that Oregon is a dangerous squad because they're a couple of O linemen or D linemen away from really, because they're already doing it, right? They're already doing it. But Bo Nix ain't Marcus Mariota. He don't got to be. No, he don't got to be. Bo Nix ain't gonna win the Heisman, but he's in the Heisman. So I think that trenches conversation is very, very relevant because the reason why I talk trash when I played football, because our O line was deep. We were not. They made me look good. I'm never. Listen, Travis Kelce came out and said, the reason why I cringe when people call me the best tight end in football is because I'm known for one thing. I'm not known for my blocking. That's how great he is as a receiver. Now, George Kittle, oh my God. And to me, that's the part that I respect about Travis Kelce and saying, man, I appreciate the accolades, but ain't nobody ever considered me a mauler. Look at number 85 for San Francisco. They will put him one-on-one against a deal end, and it's a wrap. So I think that the trenches is a great question because look at these recruiting classes. I want you to look at how many 5 stars play O-line, D-line. Watch how good them dudes be in a year, because I'm telling you, he come in 230 without meat and potatoes. That boy gained 70 pounds over a summer. But it's muscle. So and listen, and the whole Dwayne Johnson story. I love The Rock. The Rock knew. Listen, The Rock did not play because of Warren Sapp. Nobody's playing over Warren Sapp. Nobody is. But if you are Dwayne Johnson, just imagine if Warren Sapp went to another school. Dwayne Johnson becomes a good football player. He may never become The Rock.
That's right.
So everything in that sense happens for a reason. His daddy was one of the best wrestlers of all time.
Exactly.
He was destined to be in show business. It was never ever going to be football.
Yeah, Matt was a professional wrestler down in Mexico City. He used to break up glass and wear those damn leotards and throw it in his opponent's faces. And then he came up here and became a coach. But Matt, Ben, again, both of y'all are speaking and making so much sense, but you're putting all this complex stuff in the vernacular. I mean, and I agree with you about Dwayne Johnson. His course to being a great wrestler was set for him a long time ago. Matt, looking at it now, real quick, NIL. I'm going to tell you what I think is starting to happen is what I've been saying, and I think we'd all would agree. It's not sustainable because you've got some people writing checks with their mouths that they can't cash, saying they're going to support Florida or Tennessee or Alabama or whatever. But your fans are saying, hold on a second. Just a damn minute. We got to buy season tickets. And if we want good seats, we got to pay extra for those premium seats. Then you're going to come ask us to pay NIL for, okay, wait a minute. They're getting a scholarship. They're getting all that. It's nothing to say. It's like, well, they have a chance to improve things for their family. Well, that's why my son or daughter's in college. That's why we're sacrificing and doing everything we can to give our kid that chance too. You're asking me to give money to other people's kids more than I give my own kids, and, tithing to my church or whatever. It's not sustainable, but it's not bad. I'm just saying, put it in a age-banded or an incentive-based trust for those student athletes. They still need to be college kids, don't they, Matt? I mean, financial literacy is more important than anything. Think about it. If you're 19 years old and you're getting $800,000 a year in NIL money, are you all that upset after your team loses? I doubt it like it used to be. Put that money in an age-banded trust when you're 25, 30, and 35. Think about what's going to happen when Allen Iverson turns 50. Somebody was smart enough, I was told, that made a balloon payment to him of 40 or 50 million that's going to be coming to him. He never even really knew about it, maybe. But, Matt, your thoughts real quick, and then I'll throw it to Ben. We'll just spend about 3 or 4 minutes on this one because I got a bunch of questions coming in for my distinguished panelists.
So I may be different, but I am so pro student athlete, Ben. I want them to get every dollar they can. And whether it's sustainable or not, get it while you can. And the teams that have the better collectives, which technically, if you read the rule, it's not supposed to be an inducement. You're supposed to work your own deals. We know that's not going on.
Yeah.
But the teams that have a sustainable NIL and are working the portal the best right now, they're doing really well. That's all I'm going to say. And for a student athlete, for years, now we always hear the old argument, well, they get a scholarship and education. I agree with that. But we start seeing coaches' salaries go through the roofs. We start seeing TV contracts with B's instead of M's. I mean, come on, man, there's got to be a pie that the students need to get. So I'm the wrong guy to ask. I'm going to tell you what, I hope it works because I want the kids. Like, I'll give you a great example. Bo Nix doesn't come back from a 5th year if they're not doing some great stuff in their collective up there, making it feel like he's a pro athlete already, right? And it's really benefited the program. It's benefited the kids in the locker room. And Bo's a very charitable guy. He's going out and doing stuff in the community. Rob, I just think it's a win-win. I think what's unfortunate is some of these group of 5 teams are getting their players poached in the portal, and then their boosters are getting mad because I recruited Ben. He has a great year on tape. He jumps to Florida, and that $50,000 check I wrote to Ben is now in Gatorland. I mean, that's what's happening. That's the truth.
Yeah.
You can't fix it. You can't fix that.
Well, that's why I'm saying it's not sustainable. I don't think it's sustainable because of the fact that, like, ask Frank Duffy on our show, Go Tigers. And he said 2 years ago, 3 of his friends in Louisiana who own businesses, all 3 did NIL deals with 3 different LSU players, and all those guys had quit. Don't use that half-assed term opt out. Either you are there or you have quit. We've allowed some things that have come out from the virus lockdowns. I was at a grocery store here in Clarksville last night. I pulled up. It's this curbside pickup and all this stuff. I'm like, when the guy comes out, he goes, "Oh, are you going in?" I go, "Yeah, I'm going in to pick up some things." He goes, "Well, we've got somebody that we're waiting for that's ordered their groceries." And I said, "You know what? I'm going to pick up some groceries. I will move." No, I was nice, but I just said, ever since the virus, we made being lazy and sitting on your fat ass and not getting out of your car or your truck to go get your groceries okay. I mean, you got to be careful when you're in a grocery store or at Walmart that you don't get hit by a scooter. Somebody, that needs to really be walking to try to lose weight. But when they get on aisle 10 with the mac and cheese, 10 for 1, suddenly they can get up and they can scoop it all into their cart. That get me started. But I will just say this. I'm all for the student athletes too, because this is where I come from. In my financial advisory practice in 32 years in county, I always say this. We've never had a family give the money away. It's put into age-banded and incentive-based trust.
Yeah.
Ben's a smart guy. I doubt Ben was out clubbing and pissing money away on champagne. He's from the country. And read his book, Uncommon Unfinished. He did not grow up. He grew up with great people around him. He's experienced a lot of real-life stuff. And you've got a really cool story about the people that influenced you. You probably saved and lived like you were making $50,000, $60,000 a year, which is not bad, but that's all I'm saying. Bill Courtney did that. Everybody needs to see Undefeated, Oscar-winning documentary about Manassas High School here in Memphis. Matt, remember when?
Yeah.
And Ben, this is a cool story. Look it up. Bill Courtney, get him on your show. Sigma Nu at Ole Miss, really cool guy. He has a lumber business in North Memphis. And he said, the reason what got me motivated, I went and coached this high school for 7 years and got them to the playoffs. And it's in a, pretty tough neighborhood in North Memphis, Manassas.
Yes, it is.
And he got involved with it. And he said, he was asking one of his players, he said, Omar, how much you think your grandmama's house is worth? And he said, 5,000. He was like, wow. He took him to his house out in Germantown, which was worth a lot. And he said, how much you think this house is worth? And he goes, 10,000. He goes, financial literacy. That's what, if you want to help people, that's what you do. So if we could have age-banded and incentive-based trust, I'd say let her rip on NIL. And I'm not saying I have a crystal ball, but Ben, you saw it in the NFL when you played. You probably had guys that were just throwing money around. Find me, I don't care. 25,000, still 25,000. The wealthiest clients I have will buckle up when you say there's going to be a $75 fee on something. Oh, what is that? They get those, Larry the Lobster claws. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not against the student athletes because you got to make it when you can. And Ben, you're the one who said it recently. I'm on a roll. This is some damn good coffee. I don't know what it is, but Ben, you said the reason why players after NFL games are hugging each other, opposing teams after a game, you think they'd be, is you're like, man, wow, I made it through another game. Yeah. You put a lot on the line. People act like we hear so much about a torn ACL or a broken tibia or, stretched, nerves in your neck. That's a big damn deal. When was the last time, everybody out here, when was the last time you tore your ACL at 3:30 in the afternoon on a Saturday? I mean, that's a big deal. I always say this. When Dr. Andrews at Auburn walks from the sidelines out onto the field, it's a big deal. And remember Robert Edwards from Sandersville, Georgia, Washington County High School. I think he's Takeo Spike's cousin. He was playing in a volleyball game, broke his leg, and almost lost his leg. It's a big damn deal. So that, for the record, because I am pro-capitalism all the way. Just want that money to be there for these kids later on. That's all I'm saying. Ben?
Yeah. This is why I think it's sustainable. People always say to every rule there's an exception. Every time you see a student athlete, that's the exception. That's the exception to the rule right there. Because most athletes don't even get out there. They go to school 4 or 5 years. They never get on the court. They never make it. We only remember the ones that played. Look at the sideline. Look at that bench. Most of those kids don't get out there. But here's another thing. People pigeonhole NIL. All they think is money. Man, at the University of Florida, they got this thing called the Gator Good Foundation to the point where these players go out.
What's it, Gator what?
It's called the Gator Good Foundation.
Okay.
These players, it's part of NIL. They go out every week. Not one, every week. They building houses.
Yep.
They feeding people.
Good.
Listen, I'm talking to a current Florida Gator yesterday. And he said, Ben, the thing about Florida Victorious, it showed me that, man, life is bigger than football, man. Even if I don't make it, I'm going to be all right. That's what NIL does.
That's what I'm saying.
Because people talk about this. Most people learn financial literacy through blowing a lot of money. That's how a lot of us learned it, right? Till we got a financial advisor. But here's the thing. The reason why people don't understand NIL is because we lazy learners. We don't research it. We hear somebody say they're giving people money. They ain't giving nobody money at Jackson State. They ain't giving them, because do I think NIL needs to expand and say every single student athlete, whether Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, everybody should benefit. Now, benefits don't mean the same thing. Benefits don't mean, listen, if I'm Bo Nix at Auburn, if I'm Bo Nix at Oregon, I can't keep Nike from giving me stuff.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, it better be sustainable for this reason. When people talk about, you get scholarship. You know how many people that own scholarship at a college? A lot. They ain't going out there on Saturday. They don't got to fly. They don't. Southern Miss don't got to play USC softball in USC and got to fly back. So what I'm saying is, it's just a little give back to these people, because these players, because when you hear about what Caleb Williams got and what Bo Nix got, that is the exception of the exception.
That's right.
There are guys on now, but when you go and look at what Utah did, I think they gave the whole team trust.
Yeah, they got a lease on a Dodge Ram.
I said, we're going to give all y'all a brand new Ram. Because people going, hey, man, how much publicity you think we can get from this company? And if you think they didn't write them Rams off, they wrote them things off before that. But so what I'm saying is, do I think the NIL needs to expand and make sure every single student athlete, I don't care what sport you play, benefits? Yes, but is it sustainable? I think it is for this reason. I need the bad apples to show themselves, because to every big movement, you got a sub movement trying to derail it. I get that part, but all it takes is one guy getting $1 million to help you realize, why did you give him that? Why would I give somebody $1 million? Because it's return on investment. So I don't know what I don't know what return on investment is when it comes to these players. But when I was 18 years old, you think football wasn't my first, second, and third option? That's all I had. But then if I would have had a Florida Victorious, if I would have had I got to go to South Africa in the summertime. That's all NIL. I get to go to South Africa and I get to see other continents. That because the biggest misconception about NIL is everybody's money hungry. That is not true. Most kids don't even know what NIL means, and they're in college, and then somebody tells them, and to you agents out there who used to be agents for NFL and MLB players taking 20 and 30%. I don't know nobody who get 20 and 30%. That's the part that people don't get. An agent in the NFL can only get 3%. That's the most they can get. So,
3 or 4, yeah.
So I do think, listen, the Rob Browns of the world, they need to let you on campus to really tell these young men and young ladies, just tell them this: if they're getting more than 5% of your money, they cheating you. What?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
30%? What? So when you talk about these quote deals, name and image likeness should be 2 other words. It's name and image leverage, which leads to name and image longevity. That's what you want. It's leverage.
Yeah.
Arch Manning is a Manning, so he got leverage before he even throw. And listen, I'm gonna say this: if y'all think he's gonna be in Texas another year without that's a hope. You think he's gonna stay? He's not. Mannings don't ride the bench. Archie didn't, Eli didn't, and Peyton didn't. So we'll see.
Well, keep in mind, for 2 years, Eli did kind of play the bench at Ole Miss before he took off. But I do think I wouldn't be surprised if Arch doesn't end up transferring. He could go to Ole Miss. I think they would be kind of excited about that. But all I can tell you, you cannot say that you are a capitalist in a free market society like the United States is. Remember, Marxism resents people who make it on their own without the government. Capitalism thrives, and America is the only country in the world when you can be black, white, Hispanic, it doesn't matter, come from family that didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. I don't like to use that term come from nothing, because if you got a family that loves you and you got faith in God and you're surrounded by good people, you are rich. I know a lot of people with a lot of money that are empty and basically lifeless because they've never had to work for anything. You know, they were born on home plate and thought they hit a grand slam. So on this line, Matt and Ben, I'm with you. I would love to. And 4% is the max that I think an agent can charge. I mean, you know, typically fee-based accounts are 1.25. And you get into $100 million, you might be getting 20 basis points, you know, if you're managing that money. I mean, there's things just to think about. But Ben, damn, you put it in the vernacular so well. And Matt, for you to say what you just said as an AD, I'm as pro student athlete as it gets. And that's the thing about it, is that you can change the lives, not just your life, the lives of the people around you. You know, my friend Barry's grandfather used to say, you can make a living with your hands, but you can make millions with your mind. And if you're a student athlete and you've got that work ethic, Coach Dye used to always say, you're a hell of a lot better off coming up here to Auburn for 4 or 5 years, learning how to work with other people and get your education than you are not doing it, because you learn every time, Matt, you're around people that you've coached, Ben, people that you've played with and that have coached you. There's a bond, and I see it. I see it with people that I've been through. The guys I started in the bond business with, May of 91, what we went through, working 7 in the morning till 7 at night, Monday through Friday, Saturdays, 7 till 1. It wasn't an option. Having to do push-ups on the floor and stuff. So what? I wouldn't swap that for anything in the world. I wouldn't swap the experiences that I've been through. And Ben just nailed it. And Matt, you know it. What did Barry Switzer say one time after Oklahoma won the national championship on the floor? They were piled on top of each other, all excited. And he said, hey, too much is never enough. That's why we love sports, Matt. I mean, Ben, all three of us ought to go on a national tour. You're right. Cash in on it when you can. All I'm saying is just put it away so you got it when you're 25, 30, and 35.
All you got to do is tell them that, though. Think about this. They make it too hard when it comes to athletes, right? If somebody goes, hey, man, listen, you're going to go to University of Florida. You're going to make $100,000, and we're only going to give you 10 of it. You know what I'm going to say? I get $10,000? Yeah. Because it ain't about the money. The thing about it, money is a byproduct of what you're doing. People going, hey man, how did he get that? How did she get that? Well, I mean, I'm at a hell of a university. I'm an okay player. Like, is Bo Nix really that good? Is Caleb? No, they go to USC. They go to Oregon. So everything they do gets blown up. When I'm coming out for the draft, they saying he catches the ball with his hands. Well, what am I supposed to catch it with? Like, you see, and what I'm telling you is to these fans, y'all buy jerseys, y'all buy memorabilia, y'all buy beer, y'all get parking. God forbid I give $20 a month. And the thing about it is though, but you're gonna show up to that event. If Bo Nix is doing an event of signing, you think, and when they say, hey, if you're a part of this group, you get to show up and meet Bo Nix. You're gonna have the kids, you're gonna take off work, but then you're gonna go on these social media feeds and talk trash about them. I'm talk trash, but guess what? Your favorite restaurant ain't always got the best service. You still going. You don't love them more than you love these players. I guarantee that.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break. I want to come back with Matt, and I just got a great comment from one of our viewers. Just texted me. Capitalism without the fear of bankruptcy is like Catholicism without the thought of going to hell. Profound words from David, the milkman. I love it, but he's right. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Man, we have the oracles of Delphi on this show today. Ben Troupe, ESPN Coastal down in Savannah, Georgia. And he's going to lunch today at Miss Wilkes, which I wish I was there because I do this fasting every day. I could use some Miss Wilkes. Coach Matt Dean is student athlete, pro student athlete as it gets. 527 student athletes on a population of 1,950 students at Rhodes College in Memphis, the most beautiful campus inside of a city in America. It's not even close. They have their own rock quarry in Arkansas. But we'll be back with these smart guys right after this quick commercial break on Sidelines.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
I'm back here with you. We got about 15 more minutes with Matt Dean, the coach, Ben Troupe, the man, the legend over in Savannah, Georgia. Matt, along the line of what this discussion's been, college football still, the popularity of this game it just keeps growing. The favorite radio station of wealthy people is WIIFM. What's in it for me? And then consult with your tax professional, your tax preparer, and you'll find out. But Matt, let's talk about where we are right now. We've got a 4-team playoff. This time next year, how much fun, how much interest, how much of a focus will there be on a 12-team playoff? Because, man, everybody in the top 25 this time next year is going to be using the old Dumb and Dumber line. So you're saying there's a chance we can get to the playoff. That is what I love about college football. There's a chance.
Well, forever, and Ben knows this, probably remembers as a player, the thing that set football apart was really from week one, Ben, you were in a playoff game because you knew if you lost, you're probably not going to win a national championship, right? Think about now, I can be a really good football team. My schedule may not be favorable. I have to go on the road to a couple conference venues. Let's say I go 10-2. I got a shot. If I'm 11-1, I'm probably in. You know, if I'm from a Power 5, I think it's just the neatest thing going because I'm a basketball guy. We had March Madness, and when I started coaching, I mean, at my level, we only had 32 to 40 teams in the tournament, and then when we got to 64, I just think it makes it better. Getting back to what Ben was talking about too, and what you talked about, Rob, I want you to know, Rob, I'm a huge guy on financial literacy, so I don't think it's good for these kids. Like you and I have talked about day one, if we're going to start giving kids some money, okay, there's taxes, and we need to know someone we can talk to that's not going to steal from them to advise them, right? And one of the things, you know, Ben's a professional athlete, but think about Ben's network since he's left pro football. I mean, he's an author, he's a talk show host, you know, he's a public speaker. I mean, he can't do that without the education you were talking about, Rob. I mean, at the end of the day, I think the biggest sell a coach has to make. See, at Rhodes, it's a little different because the average ACT of our kids is 30, so they're coming here for academics, right? But if I'm a D1 coach, I got to sell my kids, hey, even if you make it to the top level, I need you to graduate. So if your career is after 3 years done because of a bad injury in football, we can set you up for the rest of your life. And that money you make, you know what, Ben? Let's save all our per diem money, put it in a pot. Let's give that to Rob, and therefore you're not going to be stressed out when football's over for you. You're going to have what we call rainy day money, right? I think the network is so important. I've got over 20 to 25 kids I've coached that are either doctors or lawyers right now. I mean, and that's just me at Division III. Like I can't imagine Ben's network. You know what I'm saying? So it's a really neat thing. It's a really neat thing.
It is. And one thing, people look at the student. I was talking to an SEC coach a couple of nights ago. Coached for about 20 years for an SEC school as an assistant. He said, when I went to recruit a kid at the school, if he's walking around, shirt tail hanging out, pants hanging down, he's missing school, he's not there, fold the page. Yeah. I want to talk to his teachers, and I want them to say, Ben's a great kid, and he's always early for class, and there's a kid in a wheelchair that sometimes has trouble getting in and out. He's the first one at the door to help lift the kid up. He's real involved with his church. He does a lot of stuff here in town. But you know what's most impressive about Ben? He does it anonymously. Yeah. He goes out and does things for people. He doesn't care if people know. He knows that the big guy, God knows. And he's come from a family, he's the real story. And one thing you'll find out about him is he will challenge people in that locker room at halftime if he doesn't think they're giving effort. That's who you want. I remember Tracy Rocker, pretty damn good football player, All-American at Auburn, North Fulton High School in Atlanta. And his brother, David Rocker, they were both All-Americans, defensive linemen at Auburn. And one time I was sitting at an Auburn, Georgia game in 1988. And my tickets were in the players' families sections. And you saw the Rockers. His dad looked like the Marlboro Man. He wore a blue jean jacket, blue jeans, cowboy boots, tough guy. And that's where these people come from. you need to do yourself a favor. Just go outside the locker room when the players come out after the game and see these families that these kids are coming from. That's what will wake you up. I remember Willie Whitehead, a walk-on at Auburn, 1990-91 from Tuskegee, Alabama. He was a big dude, played for the Saints, played in the NFL a while. I remember seeing his parents. His dad, I shook his dad's hands. They were the size of catcher's mitts. And he just looked me right in the eye. I mean, it was like I was giving blood. It was like, oh, great people, hard-working people. That's where these people are coming from. But you'll also notice the local teachers, guidance counselors, friends, people that are not even fans of that school are pulling for you. You're carrying a lot of people's dreams with you, aren't you, Ben, when you run out on that field, in your case, for the Gators or whatever. But you also can relate to student athletes that went to Georgia, that went to Auburn, because y'all made it, and there's a common bond that can't be broken.
Absolutely. But the thing is, we can relate to all of them.
Yeah.
See, the whole thing about it is, it took us a long time to realize that, man, y'all got more visibility than everybody else. People see y'all more, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm a brand new car, manufacturer, it's going to be harder for me to sell, not because I don't like cars, I'm the newest. That's how. Yeah. But the thing about it is, you come on the lot, y'all got panoramic roofs? Yeah, we got leather, we got heated seats, and that's the thing, right? Rose College is not different. Listen, Rose College is not different than the University of Memphis. That's perception driven. Right. And that's what most colleges have. They got the perception game on lock. If Michigan wins the championship, they're going to act like they've been winning championships for decades, and that's not the case. I think the thing about what you said about those families is, when you start talking about what NIL and what these opportunities, man, nobody tell me what came with Florida. I just wanted to, I was blessed enough to have that as an option. And you get there and realize, dang, like, yeah, man, you get the best of everything. Like, not some things, they giving you the best of everything. And that's not even because of you. That's reputation. They aren't allowed to be seen not giving you, hey, man, take that shirt off that look like, go get one of them new ones in the back. We get new gloves every day. We get new cleats every day. But that's all perception driven. But what happens is, if I meet somebody from Rose College, I want to know about Rose. The problem is, Rose College can tell the story about the University of Memphis without having to go there. We need to be able to tell the stories about these other places because, like y'all mentioned, man, I wish I had somebody from Rose College who was a friend of mine that became a doctor and a lawyer. Because, that way when it comes, because I want to walk in and say, that's a teammate of mine. That's a friend of mine. Right. And I think that's where, the greatest thing about any player is, I was told, it ain't adaptability, it ain't durability, it's relatability. Dude, if you can relate to people, because that's what going out in the community does. Because these people cheer for you. Man, most people that go to games ain't got a lot of money now. Right. They ain't, they send the guy that's yelling later to my, this beer costs how much? That dude is like, man, I could go get me a Bud Light for what you want to charge me. I can get, but how do I show appreciation to these people? By going out in the community, shaking their hands, because as long as people only root for you when you playing, that's temporary. But if you take the helmet off and they saying, dude, like, I met him, I met her, they're like, that's the part that people don't get is, it goes from, hey, man, somebody told you they want you to come to this hospital. You going over there by yourself. You going over there talking to the doctors and the nurses and so that's the part about being a student athlete. It's the experience. And if you walk away saying, man, I played in some big games. Oh, I met this player. You did yourself a disservice. NIL opens up the floodgates to that because they've been trying to do it, right? Yep. The players, listen, I was doing an event one time. And I told the people, I said, yeah, man, these people asked me to come speak, right? And they couldn't afford, what I charge. So I said, well, just give me an honorarium. And they like, you know what an honorarium is? I go, yes, ma'am. So then I said, ma'am, you know what? I'm just gonna work for free like you. She said, I don't work for free, but you want me to do it. You want me to do something and mind you, it ain't about the money. My goal is, if I'm on your campus speaking to your school, I want you to say, all we gave him was this? What? We only gave him this. And it ain't because my great grandmother told me, man, baby, it's this word called expectation. You're supposed to live on the side of superseding. That's where you live at.
Yeah.
And when you think about sports, A coach made me do something I didn't want to do. People see All-American, all that ain't me. That's Ron Zook beating me in the head. Ben, I'm not going. He used to go at me and practice so much. So then he goes, but when you go out there and meet people, don't dumb it down. Don't give them this much of you when you give me all of you. And he showed me how to. So when you hear Arthur and all this stuff, it blows my mind because, man, I ain't speaking to nobody. When I go into college, they stand in front of nobody to speak. I don't want to talk to nobody. I'm trying to play small. But then when Ron Zook says Martin Luther King Jr. wasn't famous, that man said, I got a speech. I want to say it. Enough people knew to see one man in DC who wasn't rich, who wasn't famous. Now he was influential. So he goes, and so he says, the next time somebody tell y'all the worst thing about coaches and players, y'all think y'all could change the world. Do not listen to them because you can. See, they mad because they can't. They mad. Ain't nobody gonna listen to me. That's what we enjoy. The fact that I'm interesting because of what I represent, and that's fine. Michael Jordan is interesting because what he did for the Bulls. He wasn't that good as an owner. I'm not going to use the answer. He wasn't that good as an owner, but his reputation is our. So I think what I use my leverage. I use the leverage that I built through my family last name, through the fact that when you Google me, ain't nothing coming up about going to jail or putting my hands on women. And because people appreciate the fact that if I'm coming to Rhodes, when I come to Rhodes College to speak, right, I want to make Coach look good. I want him to say, hey, man, you rock with Coach. Yeah, man. I would have played basketball, but I don't want to do it. They got to do transition offense, transition defense. No, sir. Not doing all that. No. And my daddy wanted me to play basketball bad. I respect every student athlete. I don't care where you went. And until people look at NIL as just a chance to say, either through your time, resources, influence, or money, to just tell these players, man, I appreciate you. Because I'm telling you, it ain't the financial literacy should come from a person like Rob. Because Rob, go in there and say, listen, Rob, you tell them a couple of stories like you tell us, they gonna listen to it. He goes, and I know a little bit something about this money. What you mean? Yeah. You want to have money for now or for later? I want money for now and later. All right, I'm gonna give you the money to blow now, so that later on down the line, when your kids are saying, "Hey, Daddy, can I go to college?" Whether you get a scholarship or not, Daddy got you. It's dope because I'm telling y'all, I firmly believe this. God changes hearts, conversation changes minds. Conversations will do more for these players. But you can't root for them on Saturday and talk about them like a dog.
Right.
Yeah. You can't, because that's the part. I respect, my grandfather was not a big man. My grandfather was about 5'2", 5'3", right? We all 6'4", 6'5". When he walk in the room, that's Shaq. When that man walked in the room, every man in there gonna show him respect because we all came from him. It don't matter what I'm doing. Hey, granddaddy, look at my nice car. He'll say, you want to be wearing 3 shoes, 2 on your feet and 1 up your behind? That's what he gonna tell me. Yeah. I think that respect level that coach has for them student athletes, the fans have it, and at the same time, it ain't the fact that people benefit. It's who they don't like the fact that they get everything. Man, you can't eat no books, man. Yeah, my day begins when everybody else's day ends. I just want don't give money. It ain't a guy. Yeah. If I got a business, how about you go on campus and say, hey man, I own this big Fortune 500 company. I want to offer some free job shadowing to these. That's NIL. It don't got to. Let's be more creative with it and stop thinking that it's always got to be the dollar sign.
Yeah, and Matt, what he just said about a Rolodex, that's kind of a dated term, but still, every contact in my iPhone, every person that's in there, there's a little bit of color commentary on them. It'll say, Ben Troupe, Swainsboro, Georgia, high school in Augusta, Florida Gator, speaker, ESPN Coastal. Matt Dean, I put on there, born in Davenport, Iowa. I know all that stuff. I keep that up about you. We run out of time, unfortunately. This is a great conversation, great panel discussion. And Matt, you're right. It's you as an AD, associate AD, whatever. I'm as pro student athlete as it gets. I think basically the conclusion from this discussion is NIL, you work hard, you graduate, you do things right. You're also going to have coaches, professors, trustees, university presidents, whatever, that are also going to advocate on your behalf for jobs, Matt. And kind of tag us out and catch Ben on ESPN Coastal in Savannah. Go to Amazon, get his book Uncommon and Unfinished. But most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Look at the people we got on this show. Started off with Chris Lee, Gary Harris, Coach Matt Dean, Ben Troupe. This is what sports is all about. But the Constitution doesn't read the preamble, we the government. It's we the people. People make the difference. Gandhi was right. Don't let other people walk through your mind with their dirty feet. Just think about that. Let that resonate in, okay? You don't need their attitude. You got your own. 95% of life is showing up with a positive attitude. Coach Matt Dean, get us fired up in the last couple of minutes here about the game of life, man. I love having y'all on.
I'm gonna touch on something Ben said and kind of elaborate a little bit because I've seen it. Like, we've always heard the saying, the fan pays the tickets, so they can boo and all these things. But the fans don't understand. And I say this in respect to fans. Yeah. They don't understand what Ben Troupe went through as a student athlete on the field and off the field to go out there and play on Saturdays. It goes back to the old Teddy Roosevelt quote about the man in the arena. You can't. I mean, unless you've done it yourself, I'm sorry, you don't know how hard it is. Rob, you touched on it earlier. How hard it is to get in line across someone and they want to physically whip your butt. It's just very difficult. Basketball is a different mental stress, but football, I'm just telling you, one bad hit and your career is over. And as we've seen in the last few years, we one of the things that touched me this weekend was when DeMar Hamlin went back to the Cincinnati stadium. He was by himself after the game was over, like by the spot where he got hit. And probably his life was took for a short period of time. I'm guessing, Ben. I have no idea. And just the fact that that young man is such a great part of that community and still part of that football team. I just want fans to know it is totally acceptable to be unhappy when your team doesn't perform well. But just remember, what these student athletes do, doesn't matter if it's tennis, doesn't matter if it's field hockey, football, they are committing a lot of their time for a product that you should be proud of.
Yeah, it is. And we like I say, we've run out of time, but just remember, just go outside the locker room and remember these people. See them after the games. We become real cynical because everybody can go on social media and say what they want and hide behind a false moniker. If you're going to say something derogatory about Florida, go up and say it to Kingsley Algonquin, the starting center for Florida. Go tell him. I met him and I talked to him at media days about NIL, and I love what that kid said. I mean, Ben, I don't know Kingsley. I've met him one time at media days. I asked him about NIL. You know what he said? And I recorded it. I played it on the show. Buddy Martin heard it. Franz heard it. Ben, he goes, I've been at NIL. I've been at Florida for, 3 years. These are my brothers that I've been through a lot. He goes, the idea of leaving for, a couple $100,000. I mean, it's silly. He goes, this is me. I'm Florida. This is part of me, and I always will be. So there are so many great young men and women out there. Do yourself a favor. Take the time to actually meet them and don't listen to what, I heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend. Go meet these people. You'll be surprised. There's so many great people out there. Okay, look, hey, man, we've run out of time. Thank you all so much. Let me find this thing. I'll wrap it up. We're going to head back from Clarksville to Memphis right after the show here. But anyway, you got a great one in store for tomorrow. Coach John Brady, Tommy Kane, we'll be talking some basketball, college football. It doesn't get any better, but it will be tomorrow. See you then.